What happens after you have gone through the initial shock of losing your job? How do you deal with the emotions that come next? That is the topic of today's Job Chat. I'm Hector Silva, and this is Don Appel.
Hector, those emotions, there are so many of them. Let's find out how to deal with each one of them.
Our guest today is Cherie Simmons.
Cherie defines herself as a spot mover. She helps people figure out what spot they're in, what spot they really want to be in, and why they're not in that spot, and then how to move to the new spot. Having worked in the field of betterment for 16 years, Cherie is willing to poke bears, laugh loudly, walk into the dark, and be frank with a twist of compassion. Whether she's working as a life coach, trainer, consultant, or curriculum developer, clients describe the results as powerful, fun, and effective. Cherie, again, welcome to Job Chat.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
What are the emotions that we're talking about, these aftershocks?
What are they? You know, I think it's interesting when we look at someone who's not only been laid off and fired, but somebody who has been going through the process for a while. And think about that. I mean, even if you're initially angry, after a while, what starts to crop up more and more, do you guys think?
Depression.
Yes, and that's probably the most common thing. Depression is the most twisted of the things our little negative self-talk does. And it's usually this: it's hopeless. It's never going to get better. And once it becomes hopeless, why try, right? And it's a terrible vicious cycle you're in now.
And that's from the negative. How do we get to the positive side?
Well, there's a variety of things that you're going to do and that you have to do. I want you to, first of all, when you're going out on interviews, you've got to find a way to get your mental state better, because nobody interviews well when we don't feel good about ourselves. I mean, the whole point of an interview is to talk about your strengths, your skills, what you bring to the job. And if you're inside your head thinking what a schmuck you are and how awful you are, that's not going to translate well. And I don't care what you say on the outside, what you say on the inside translates. It's pretty phenomenal how well we read each other. We've all heard the study of, only 5% of 7% of communication is words, right?
Yes.
The rest is body language and then tone and attitude. Okay? And what's phenomenal to me, body language is the largest component of how we communicate. So Malcolm Gladwell, in his book, The Tipping Point, talks about a study that was done where they took video of mothers and newborn infants, as opposed to newborn kittens, and their babies, and they slowed that the video of the interaction down to like 1/100th of a second, and they watched. And the mother might do something like move her eyebrow 1 millimeter or 1/10 of a millimeter even, within 1/100th of a second, right? Normally imperceptible to the eye, but they had slowed it down. They then looked at the baby in the next following frames, and within milliseconds, the baby not only repeated the movement, but to the exact same degree, okay? We're born reading each other's body language. And there's a field in criminal justice that they look and read people's faces and what they call microexpressions. Okay? And they detect lying and deceit and guilt and shame and all these different things by reading microexpressions. It's a microexpression because it happens in like 1/100th of a second. Okay? And some people, we're all naturally talented at reading that. And here's what we normally say though: something's just off. Something just doesn't strike me wrong. I'm picking up on something with that person. I can't tell you what it is. Right?
Yes.
Okay. When we interview, whatever's going on in our heads is being picked up on through our body language with those people that are interviewing us. And they can't necessarily go, he is really angry, or she's so defensive, or, whatever, but they can sense something's wrong. And sometimes people are really good at reading, they can pick up on the defensive, or you're really showing it. You're really showing it. And that is a problem. People go into interviews angry and defensive, and they're using victim language, and all they talk about is the past and negativity. And I'm not going to hire you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it becomes a stumbling block to getting a job. But let me take you away from the interview room
Yes.
and take you back home.
Oh, yeah.
And you're now expressing these same emotions at home.
Or not.
Or not. And then you have the family that's around you, and they're going to pick up on a lot of this. And it's
Yeah.
going to affect their emotions.
Right, and now you're caught in another vicious cycle because you're having your response, which is triggering their response, which triggers another response from you, which triggers and now you're just right, little catch-22
Yeah,
exactly.
situation, and that's why it's just. And here's the other example I want to give you. What if you're one of those people that being fired was so shameful to you, which I'm going to pause there, freeze frame. If you're having shame and humiliation around it, I'm going to take you backwards in time because there's something from your past that has made this a very shameful, humiliating experience. And it's tied to a belief system, and we need to look at that. Because I hear of people that lose their jobs and they don't go home and tell anybody. They continue to get up and get dressed and go to the office, and they go sit in a coffee shop or something or a bar or whatever all day and come home at night. And what is that about? If you're hiding something, you think you're doing something wrong. So I need you to go in. We need to go in and look at the past. We need to look at belief systems.
And that's running away from the problem instead of facing it.
It is. And people say, okay, what do we do? Give us an activity they can do to make this better. And I'm going to tell you at this point, you need support. You need a support system.
And one would think that would start with your immediate family.
And sometimes your immediate family isn't a good support system.
Okay.
Okay, let's be honest
So
about that.
don't make that a given.
Well,
that
they don't have the same feelings you do because they're not in the same situation. They didn't stand there when you were told that you were being let go.
Right.
You need to be with other people that were in that same situation.
Okay, you're so right on, Hector, because I always talk to people who, let's say you're a parent who's lost a child, or you're a person who went through being molested or raped. You can explain it to other people, but they say they understand, but they don't get it because they haven't been through it. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly explaining to people, you must go talk to other people who've been through this. You feel crazy, and what you're doing is normal for the situation you're in. You need someone to help. Not only go, oh my gosh, I so did that too, so you don't feel as crazy. You also need someone who can say, here's what I did. Yeah, I fell back. Here's what I did next. Here's some things I found that made it easier.
Oh.
Or, look, I sense that you're not feeling good today, whereas other people won't pick up on it. Mm-hmm. Or, look, I know you're keeping things underneath. Let's talk about it. And there's a freedom in talking to someone who's been there that sometimes we don't have with people who haven't been there. I'm not saying lose your intimacy with a spouse or partner or something like that, because I think that transparency and openness is really important. You need to be honest. And if you are depressed and you are having self-esteem issues, you've got to talk to people about that, including your spouse. Don't keep putting up a false front until you lose it. All right? Go get help. So the brain is an amazing, amazing creature.
And talking to peers that have been through the experience is one thing, but another place you can go is either coaches or mentors.
Yes.
People who have dealt with this with other people and have seen a variety of these emotions and how to deal with them.
And that's true, and that's something that I deal with all the time. Is I have these person after person coming in, and I can give them stories and examples. Maybe they're not strong enough yet to go and admit it to somebody else, even though that person's been through it. But I'm kind of a liaison in a way. I'm a liaison of stories and experiences for them. And the other thing I am, at the very beginning that's so important, is I am what I call believing eyes. And sometimes they just need someone to believe in them and to tell them over and over, here's what I see in you. Here's what I know about you. Here are the things you've done. Here's what you survived. I see you. I know, and I will believe in you until you're strong enough to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm. You may not have the confidence in you. I do.
I do, and I'm going to hold it. And I also will say, this isn't acceptable to me. This is not okay with me for you to see this in yourself. It's not true, and I won't allow it. And they need someone to be strong with them, and sometimes they need someone to have tough love and go, all right, suck it up.
Yeah.
Enough.
Because there's got to be some point in time where you cancel your pity party.
And this is really important. Yes, and I was just about to talk about the brain. The brain is phenomenal because sometimes even though you want to cancel the pity party, even though you put the party favors away, you can't get out. It's like you're locked in the party room. And it's not a good party. It is, we all know where it's just not. You're like, I do not want to be here. I want to go home and I can't find the door and my ride left, you know, kind of thing. So the brain, all right, when we're under stress, our brain produces different chemicals than when we're incredibly happy or when we're in love or whatever. So think of the brain like a chemical factory for this example.
Okay.
Okay? And when we're under stress and our adrenal glands are pumping out chemicals, if we continue to remain under stress and continue to remain under stress and continue to remain under stress, the chemical factory gets stuck in its settings.
Oh.
Yeah.
To the point where
it's only
even
producing those chemicals that act, and it stops producing like the serotonin, which is about our happy and our joy and all of these things. And it's like you want to be producing something else, but you don't know how to go in and reset the
Right,
settings.
because then they become like maintenance drugs that just keep you in the same place.
Yes.
Instead of trying to help you recover to someplace else.
You got it. And that's why I'm like, go to the doctor and ask about antidepressants, because what those do is they are resetting your settings. A little redundant, but you get the point. Yeah. It's a chemical reset. And yeah, once you get the chemical factory back to normal and climb out of this setting, then let's wean off of those and come out and go back to being you, the real you. Because what's just happened is you're stuck. You're stuck. And so what we're doing is we're getting you a ride home from the party. And once you're home, you can send the taxi away, right? So I do think professional help, outside perspective, it's like I really love it when people go to a professional resume writer because it is a great confidence booster, I think. I find when people go to a professional resume writer and they start saying, well, tell me about this, and oh my gosh, you did what? Oh, that's fantastic. And they start making you sound, and you read that and you're like, well, look at me. I did all that.
And it's nothing that wasn't there to begin with.
But you can't see it.
But exactly, you have that wall that you can't get past, and they help you open that door so you can get through there.
Right. And so whether it's a professional resume writer, whether it's a coach, whether it's going to something like New Landings, and being around a support system of other people who have been through it, are going through it, have found success, and are there as a support system, whether it's going to your doctor, whether it's asking your spouse to go to counseling with you, because you two both are going through this. It's just you're feeling something very different. And again, then we start in our head of like, I'm letting people down, and the other person may not even be thinking that. But we create that. I don't know.
And in your own mind, that's pretty powerful.
It is. Our subconscious is phenomenal, and our negative self-talk. You know, Henry Ford said, if a man thinks he can or thinks he can't, either way he's right. Richard Bach, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours.
They're yours.
We lie to ourselves all the time. We tell ourselves things like, I'm horrible at this. Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'm like, that's not true. You're saying a lie. Everybody doesn't hate you. Somebody likes you. You're not horrible. You may not be great at it, but you're not horrible, kind of thing. You're lying to yourself all the time. So I'd like to teach you how to lie to yourself in a positive, healthy way, right?
Right. And you get into that position where not only are you lying to yourself, but you're accepting things that you don't have to accept.
Yeah. We are the greatest obstacle in our own lives. And we are the ones who decide and choose for ourselves. So, you know, I grew up again in that home that was the facade of perfection and always striving to get recognized and be good enough and all of that. And I was in all of the plays in high school, and I didn't just be in the play, I got the lead role, and, you know, still would get critiqued for that. I wanted to be an actress, but that would not be acceptable to be an actress, and that's a foolish dream. And so I gave that up. You know what? Recently, I am 43 years old, and I realized, wait a minute. nobody's holding me back from doing anything except me. And I went and I auditioned for a play and I got cast. I decide.
Very good.
I choose. So Dr. Stephen Covey says that we're responsible for our past as well as our future. Now, I didn't like that the first time I heard it. I thought that was a bunch of crap, because I was like, you know, I'm not responsible for my biological father abandoning my mother and 3 kids. I'm not responsible for that, you know. What he meant was, I'm responsible for what I do with my past as well as what I do with my future. And I was holding on to a belief that was given to me by somebody else. It was their belief that being an actress is foolish. It was their belief that going into that field is not profitable. It was their belief. And you know what? She was right for her.
But not for you.
But I choose if I believe that. Because see, when we're little, those people in authority, we believe them. They feed us, they give us shelter, we assume they know what they're doing. And I gotta tell you, a lot of times they didn't.
Yeah, we may not be able to control getting a job, but we can control all the things we need to do to put ourselves in the position to get a job.
Yes, and you are the greatest factor. You are. And I know that it can get wearisome to keep looking. I know that it can get heartbreaking to keep applying and getting no response. I know that it can get incredibly defeating to go to interview after interview and be told no.
Particularly when months have turned into years.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
a long time.
So, and that's exactly when you really need somebody to jump charge you. And the other thing is, quit taking it personal. Okay? Quit taking it personal. You do not allow that in your head, because this is not personal. You are a model or an actor going out for job after job. And when modeling, people think it's such a fluff thing, but it is. I can't imagine going in and just being merely judged on your looks. I mean, we judge ourselves on our looks every day, and we know how awful that is, and judge each other. But imagine that's what you did every day for work, and you went to call after call, and they would just go, I don't like her eyes, or, he just isn't tall enough, or, he needs better abs. Whatever. It's not personal. It's a look they're going for. It's a look they're going for.
And even if they're saying no, it still doesn't change you. You still have the same attributes. You still have the same skill sets, the same background, the same experiences that you've had in the past. So it doesn't change you because they say no.
It doesn't. And here's what's really important about that. You need to know what makes you unique, what you bring to the job, and what environment you excel in. What would feed and nurture you and make the best amazing work come out of you, right? You need to know those things. Have you done the work to figure that out? Have you done things like Strength Finders 2.0, taken that online and figured out your top strengths? Have you woven that into your resume? Have you created a job search based on the environment and terrain that nurtures you? Are you interviewing for jobs that would make you miserable? Are you? Probably so. That's probably why you're getting rejected, because you're not a good fit for them. I believe an interview, when I interview, I am interviewing that company probably more than they're interviewing me. Because, by gosh, I bring something to the table, and I want to make sure that this is the right place for me to give myself to.
Because once you accept that job, if it's offered.
When it's offered.
When it's offered.
Oh, good point.
You are expected to show up every day.
And support them.
And support them. And if you're not happy with it and you're not ready to do that on a daily basis, then you're not going to be where you want to be. No,
and I bet in 90 days, because so many places do the probationary period now and all that, they're going to pick up on this. Are you kidding yourself? I'm not saying anything wrong with survival jobs. Please don't misunderstand me.
No.
At the same time, I really firmly believe in you getting the job that nourishes not just the table, like puts food on the table, but does it nourish your being, your soul, yourself? Does it make you the best you? Because I think we're here to be who we are.
Make sure you can answer yes to that,
yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And speaking of being where you want to be,
yeah,
we'll get to that in our next show with you.
Yes, putting the pieces of you together the way you want.
But for now, we want to thank you for being here today and going through all these aftershock emotions, because Like with any earthquake and aftershocks, they keep coming,
Yeah.
and you need to keep dealing with them.
Absolutely.
And we thank you for telling us how we can do that.
Thank you.
So, if someone would like to contact you, get some more help from you, where could they reach you?
Probably the best way to do that is through my website, and that is www.Cherie, and Cherie is spelled, Mama was fancy, it was spelled Cherie, so share, I-E, Simmons, Simmons, this time I always say Richard Simmons, but no relation. Yeah, so CherieSimmons.com.
Very good. Thank you, Cherie. Also, remember that all of our job chats are available to you anytime on our website, newlandingsjobchat.org. Just click on the Past Shows button.
And as always, we thank you for listening. And until next time, may your days be full of health, happiness, and success.